This is Monocle on Fashion, a show on Monocle Radio offering exclusive insights and global perspectives on the fashion industry. Today's episode is our last of the season. In true Mediterranean fashion, the show will be going on a summer hiatus until the end of August. It's an opportunity for you, dear listeners, to hopefully catch up on episodes you might have missed, and for us to embrace the spirit of the summer, to gather new inspiration, go off on holiday, and come back fresh in September, ready to dissect what promises to be one of the most exciting fashion seasons to date, with debuts at Chanel, Versace, Jil Sander, Dior, and so many more. But before we go, we got together as a team to take a look back at some of our highlights of the season, the interviews that inspired us, the themes that kept emerging, and the behind-the-scenes adventures. The show's super producers, Lily Austin and Steph Chungu, who usually sit on the other side of the studio recording all the interviews and working their editing magic at the post-production stage, joined me to share their own perspectives on the season. We also speak about our favorite summer brands, given that everyone is getting ready to go on the summer break, and what you should expect from season 2. I'm so glad that we're doing a team chat this time. We've got amazing people, but it's also nice for us to kind of discuss everything that we've done throughout the season and just celebrate summer
of the season.
Exactly. I mean,
isn't that right, Steph?
Steph did think that this was a meeting, not an actual recording. So we're gonna put her on the spot maybe and start with Steph.
Right.
I mean, the main idea was to kind of look back a little bit at some of our favorite interviews and then highlights from when Monocle on Fashion started at our Basel in Paris to now that we're just about to take a very well-deserved summer break. So yes, Steph, let's start with you. Favorite interview moment of working on the show?
I think my favourite interview, it has to be at the start of Monocle on Fashion, which was with the My Theresa CEO, Michael Krieger. It was recorded in our temporary offices in Paris before we moved to Rue Bachamont. Oh, I can't remember our street.
That's it.
Is it?
Rue Bachamont. Very good.
It was fun to see you at work and actually forming Monocle on Fashion from the start, because at the time we didn't really know what Monocle Fashion was until we came back to London, and we all looked at each other there going, okay, how is this going to work? We have one episode down, where are we going to move next? But I think it was just a good involvement of yours and Lily's work. I think the next one, of course, is Fashion Week Boring. I think it was so fun to have boring.com on air. They rarely ever do any recorded interviews, so it was really interesting, and also trying to figure out how to edit. So
trying to hide their voice, disguise it, was quite a challenge, but kind of added to the excitement of the whole thing.
It really did, I think.
And they didn't hold back. I feel like we weren't disappointed with that tape.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of Fashion Week discussions now on audio, on websites, but we need this kind of more refreshing voices that don't hold back on what they're saying and how they critique the shows and designers. And I don't know about you, but I got a lot of messages after asking me who they are, who is it. Not that we know, not that we would share. We still don't know.
And my favorite, one of my other favorites is with the photographer Misan Harriman. I love his work dearly. So to have him in the studio was an absolute joy, and me squealing like an absolute rabid fan in front of him was not well. But he was an amazing person with a lot of perspectives on the fashion world and how certain magazines are pivoting and such. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was also really blown away by his interview, because I mean, he really is in his own genre of one, because he straddles the fashion industry but is still so active and does so much to advocate for human rights. And it's very unusual to see someone kind of keep that momentum going, to believe in something and keep going with it and really like use their platform at every opportunity. You don't see it very much. And so I was very impressed and kind of moved by the way he spoke so passionately about a whole slew of issues.
I couldn't agree more as well. I thought it was so incredible. And also when he came into the studio, he had such a warm energy.
Such a calm
He
presence.
was asking us where we're from, stories of how we grew up, such a nice energy. And we spoke about quite heavy topics because he's been out on the streets photographing the protests, as well as doing these really incredible fashion shoots sometimes. But even when we're talking about his work for children, the protest, Gaza, he left me with optimism, which I think is so rare these days, that it was a real treat for sure.
I also thought that, bringing it back to the beginning and Michael Kliger, I feel like hearing a CEO's perspective on where the industry is with buying and given how difficult it has been the last few years and continues to be, I felt like it was a surprise and an interesting thing that throughout this series, the issues that have arisen from COVID and then gone on kind of came back and again. And it was really amazing to hear from lots of designers who had taken that challenge and used it as an opportunity to not relaunch, but kind of reimagine their brand in a way they wanted. We saw it with Jennifer Tremandi, with Regina Poi, with Rasil Chaloub. It was kind of a similar theme. They had slightly different ways of approaching it, but for all of them, it was like, okay, this challenge in 2020, this huge global challenge, is a chance for us to take stock and think about what actually is important to us and how this brand can move forward. And I found it a very interesting thing to see that this just kept coming up again and again and kind of really showed what it takes to be a successful brand, basically.
Definitely. And I think it's almost as if we had planned it, but it wasn't. Like those stories just kept coming up. And to me, it was also a bit reassuring that these designers did take into consideration what happened. They saw that the system is broken, especially in terms of selling to as many retailers as possible, really unhealthy business model in terms of producing too much, not getting paid on time, not being able to sustain your business. And they said, we're not doing this anymore. And they found different ways to operate independently, smaller capsules, not as many trendy collections, building more relationships with our customers. And I say reassuring because those are the conversations everyone was having in the fashion industry during COVID, saying we need to change. But on the bigger level of the big luxury groups, no one changed. Everyone just went back to business as usual, and almost it became worse. It's become faster. So at least on that independent level, those amazing women that we worked with, that we interviewed, you see that some people are doing things their way. So I loved that. It gave me some reassurance. I don't know if from all of those stories, was there anyone that really stood out to you, Lily?
Well, I found Jennifer Tremandi just so inspiring.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was partly because we went and interviewed her in person at their beautiful studio and showroom, and some of their clients and kind of friends of the brand were there listening as well. So there was a really nice kind of energy to the whole experience. But I just found her, I don't know, a very warm and inspiring person to tell her story, you know. And again, it seems to be a theme that comes up again and again because it's so hard to launch a brand. So it's unusual to do it straight out of studying or, you know, when you're young, usually it makes sense to kind of go into something else you're interested in and perhaps come back to later on. But that was kind of her story, having worked in finance.
And the fact that she learned Italian just to be able to speak to her manufacturer, how incredible is that?
I'm taking Italian lessons at the moment, and I think about that every time I do a class. I'm like, oh my God, I can never be like, oh, she's incredible to have done these intensive courses and then be able to present in Italian to her manufacturer that she was trying to pitch for to work with her. And it worked, and she got, and they, you know, have been working together ever since. And it's like a really critical part of the brand. As she said, you know, her shoes are named after the people who work in the atelier. And it's just, yeah, very, very inspiring. And just an impressive person to have on the show.
And speaking of inspiring, I think with the episodes that we worked on with our friends at Miu Miu as well, I found that it was an opportunity. It opened up a world of speaking to these incredible women that collaborate with Miu Miu on different projects, whether it was some of our first early episodes where they got together a lot of filmmakers and artists for their Tales and Tellers event at Art Basel in Paris, or probably the biggest highlight for me was going to Cannes to interview Catherine Martin, who's an incredible costume designer. She did Romeo and Juliet. She's married to Baz Luhrmann. She's behind a lot of the most incredible movies. But this was her debut as a director. She made a short film for Miu Miu, and she also designed a capsule collection. And I found it so refreshing how she spoke about even someone at her level. She's won Oscars multiple times, but she was telling me that she really needed to dig deep and find confidence to step outside the costume department and put herself in the spotlight and do something like that. She's half French, so she spoke really romantically about French Riviera style. And also I loved that she was just really aware of the world, and she recognized that, yes, this is fun, we're doing luxury, but this is also a really intense moment in the world. And she was looking at the 1920s and 1930s, that post-war time, and trying to draw some hope and optimism and conclusions through her story. So I thought that was really interesting. And in general, I think Miu Miu puts together really interesting group of artists for these additional projects that they do, and it sparks conversations about fashion, but also about life and art that have been incredible to record. I love the one that we did with Joanna Hogg, Steph, as well. That was a fun one, no? Despite the chaos in the background.
I think I was more focused on the fact that everyone was literally banging their cutlery and their mugs while recording, and I was just in my head going, this is going to go really good or really, really bad. But it was an amazing interview, and Joanna was so lovely, and her talking about the film series with Miu Miu was quite insightful as well.
Yeah, we were in a hotel room, or in a hotel lobby, actually.
It was a cafe of the lobby, wasn't it?
And this lady behind us just did not stop banging or speaking on the phone.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone wants to listen back to that episode, you may well hear the faint sound of someone talking in the background at a certain point, because we did our best to clean it up and edit that out.
No,
but
you work with your magic always.
It was pretty, it's distracting. But great. I mean, I'm always drawn to the connection between film and fashion, because fashion is just the most kind of vital way of storytelling, really, of expressing who you are. So it seems like the perfect combination of Miu Miu doing all these collaborations with these amazing designers. And with Catherine Martin, it was so difficult to edit that episode because she was just like spilling over with references to different eras and different art. I was Googling all of these artistic references as she was going. It was just, she's just like full of information. And clearly there has this incredible curiosity about the world that, it was really a nice one.
She's amazing. I mean, when I went to her suite in the Hotel Martinez in Cannes, very fancy, and the moment I walked in, you know that it's going to be a good interview because she had this big smile, amazing energy, and she's so friendly and open that straight away you knew that this is going to be great, and she didn't disappoint. And also, speaking of Cannes and summer, since we're all about the Mediterranean approach to life, right, and taking August off, I think we should speak a little bit about summer brands, what we're wearing, what kind of brands we're keeping our eye on.
For me, it's a very fun thing to think about because, I mean, I was thinking about it, and actually, I feel like in general, tell me if you disagree with this, but I think that summer is a time when kind of trends slow down a little bit. Like, I think the things we love, we keep coming back to every summer. It's less of a rapid, like, shift through trends like it is at other times of the year. So for me, like, a classic linen shirt, which I am actually wearing right now, will like always works. And I was thinking about, there's a brand I absolutely love called Akoya, which is like it's a Balinese crochet brand. So they make the swimwear and a few like dresses, all crocheted, done by kind of local artisans in Bali. And like a big part of it is that they're always on kind of trying to move towards a completely sustainable line. I first bought something from them like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but every year I come back to it, and you know, crochet seems to continue to be on trend. You know, I was seeing that like Alaïa and Prada had crochet dresses in their collections this year, so it still kind of feels on trend, and it's a kind of timeless thing, but they do it in a very cool way. It's like got this, of course, being crochet, it is kind of a traditional art form, but they do these very cute bikinis and like nice, like very natural colors and modern shapes. So that would be my big recommendation if you're looking for a nice bit of, I would admit, like not maybe the best for actually swimming, but for beachwear, if you're not planning to get wet, it's perfect.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I think summer is like, I guess you need certain types of fabrics. It's a certain type of lifestyle, so it's less trendy. Things move a bit slower and you keep coming back to the same things. Like I'm always going back to Hunza G, like their swimwear it's just so easy. They come in fun colors. This summer I was looking, and I do have my eye on that, like they've got a new gingham sets, and I'm always wearing their linen sets on the beach. So I think that's a great one. And I'd also recommend, I mean, this is a bit newer, but again, classic silhouettes, a brand called La Pampa, which I met the designer and interviewed her for Confect summer issue. And it's quite interesting. She's a former journalist, started a brand, very small capsule of just a few pieces. And she's inspired by Saint-Tropez, and she has this incredible house in the south of France. So it's very much Romy Schneider in the 1960s and French Riviera, but she's got some great like terry dresses, white linens, this kind of shirts and boxer shorts that you can wear at home, you can wear out. So it's a really good one, I would say, for anyone looking for something new. What about you, Steph?
Oh, you guys gonna hate me. I do agree with you guys on the concept of like the trends are slowing down over the summer. So I don't really have any summer-esque brands. I'm still stuck on Couture Week in Paris and Willy Chavarria's fashion show, which was stunning. He's just released his collaboration with Adidas, and I've been obsessed over the shoes. Whenever I wear summer clothes, I always do the long overshirt, the linen trousers, but I always have to make sure my shoes are trending. Like I always buy a new pair of shoes, I think at least 3 pairs per summer. So I have been looking at the Jabba dress shoes, which is basically like a little bit of a twist of the samba with like a little point at the end. So it's very delicate, very lovely, but I just love Willy's take on like classic brands like Adidas. So that's just me.
I completely agree with you. I was thinking about it that I like to think it's quite classic and easy in summer, but actually the shoes I always wear are my lobster slippers. And
I love those lobster slippers. That's your signature, right?
And I kind of feel like it's summer. You've got to be fun, right? It's, you know, nice to be like chic and easy, but like I need to have a bit of silliness as well. But these shoes, I've had them for like, my God, probably nearly 10 years, and they're getting more and more crumpled and misshapen. So I was thinking I need to find myself a new kind of novelty shoe, like a fun shoe. And I found this brand called Alameda Turquesa, and they do these like sandals with like pom-poms on them, and also like coins, tassels, charms, all these things. And I was thinking this could be the perfect summer shoe for me once I'm ready to let go of my lobster shoe, which admittedly isn't quite yet, but you know, something that you'll be able to hear me coming around the door.
Jelly shoes as well, I love.
Yes.
My mom, who is too chic for all of us, and hopefully she's listening now, she never let me wear those clunky jelly shoes when I was small, so it stuck with me, and now I got a pair and I'm wearing them, and I plan to wear them all the time.
My mum was the same. Yeah, she was very strict about that. Not the chunky jelly shoes. It's not chic enough.
No, I'm on the side with you, Mum. I don't like jelly shoes at all.
You're also too chic for us, Steph. Like, what can I say?
Not today, but...
Okay, so some great summer recommendations. Maybe we should also look ahead a little bit, even though we do still have the summer and time to relax a little bit. But if we start looking ahead, what are you most looking forward to post-break, the kind of stories we should be telling on the show? What should our listeners look forward to?
I think the most obvious one is basically the rest of the musical chairs in the fashion houses, especially following Jonathan Anderson's debut at Dior. I will leave my comments off air. But it would just be like interesting to see how they take it. And I believe I think it was Demma's last Balenciaga show a couple of weeks ago, which was, we'll leave that off air. But it'll be interesting to see. As well as that, there are many, I'm more of the exhibit type person. So V&A announced the Schiaparelli exhibit for the first time next spring, which I immediately forwarded to you, to Lily, to everyone saying, I'm going and I will happily report for you. But it's me that's going. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm taking that one. Thank you. But yeah, that's my two.
All yours. But it's interesting that you mention exhibits because obviously I go to a lot of fashion shows, but recently, anytime I went to an exhibition, it felt so much more meaningful and emotional in some way. Like there was the Armani show, and across the street at the theater, there was an exhibition of couture pieces from his work from over the years. And going there, it's quiet. You can just sit and take it all in. And it felt a lot more interesting in some ways than that fast show when everyone cares about who's everywhere you're sitting, the politics around it. Well, an exhibition is purely kind of about the designer and their work. And I felt the same when I went to see the Demna retrospective to kind of close the chapter of his work at Balenciaga, which, I mean, I don't wear Balenciaga. I've not always been the biggest fan. But to go and see that all come together, and they had audio, so when you stepped close to each garment, you could hear him talk you through his thought process. I thought it's quite fascinating, and so it's a much more interesting way to discover fashion. So we should be going to a lot more exhibitions, I think, and covering them. And Steph will be number one.
Thank you.
Going there.
Yeah, definitely. I also am just excited to cover more cities that are up and coming fashion capitals. I feel like the other side of the industry changing so much, and there being this like shift in with all the changes in the fashion shows, Fashion Week and that kind of thing, is that we do have these other countries coming up. You know, we did an episode recently looking at Indonesia and Jakarta and the rise of the fashion industry there. And I think we definitely will be covering more of that. We have an interview of Sophia Hilak of an accessory label that kind of has been at the forefront of the rise of Warsaw as a city. So that will be a great one to share. And I kind of definitely want to look at more of these places that are emerging.
Definitely. Hopefully some fun adventures and travel for us as well. Because, fashion does tend to kind of zoom into London, Milan, Paris, maybe New York, and just live within this bubble. But there's all this exciting stories and craft and innovation happening elsewhere in the world. It's just this tiny group of people that only zoom in and decided that this is where it's all at. So we should definitely, I think Warsaw is a very interesting one, but we'll be looking around. And also, I mean, Steph mentioned Willy Chavarie. I think, of course, there's a lot of excitement around Jonathan's debut at Dior, and his women's debut will be even more buzzy. I'm sure Mathieu Blazy at Chanel, there's a new designer at Versace, Jill Sander, all of that, and we'll be following it. But there's also this whole other wave of designers that are independent, that operate a bit differently, and that have something to say. Willy Chavarie, probably one of the most exciting people working at the moment. So I'm also keen to support the independents and make sure that we've got those voices coming through on the show as well, and that there will be a lot more of that too, for sure. That was Lily Austin and Steph Chungu, producers of Monocle on Fashion. And that's all for today's show. Make sure you press subscribe and stay up to date. We will be back in September with big interviews, reports from around the world, and Fashion Week exclusives. Today's episode was produced and edited by Lily Austin. I'm Natalie Theodosi. Happy summer and see you in September.